This video is brought to you by Bokksu. Want some traditional Japanese snacks you can't get outside the country? Pop over to my link in the description and use the code GAIJIN15 to get $15 off your purchase. Hey everyone, Gaijin Goomba here, and welcome back to another episode of Witch Ninja, the series that looks at media's most popular shinobi to see which are good and which are bad.
Are we really doing this? I mean, for crying out loud, this was a B-movie from the 90s, and the early 90s for that matter. You realize it's exactly 30 years old, right? Besides, the movie itself has less than stellar reviews over on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, scoring a 5.3 out of 10 and a 32% respectively. So, why are we choosing this as our next big Witch Ninja topic?
Well, first of all, thank you for making us all visually age. Second of all, I keep getting them sent to my P.O. box, Justin, so I guess it's just a sign I better get on with it. And third, despite how lukewarm and terrible the reviews for this movie may have been, I know for a fact that a lot of you watching right now just had a long dormant neuron activate. Yeah, if you were a 90s kid, you know this movie. In fact, to anyone born after the early 2000s, if you ever wanted to see what 90s tropes in media were like back then, there is no better example than this movie. For better, and worse.
My brothers are retarded.
Are you serious?
I suppose that's mostly due to this movie aping off the two greatest blockbusters of the time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Home Alone, both releasing 2 years prior to this in 1990, and both of them absolutely making bank. And no, I'm not being churlish with that statement. 3 Ninja literally advertises itself as being the sum of those two movies. And oh boy, gotta love that 90s trope of the one fat kid who literally can't exist without shoveling some kind of sweet snack into his freaking craw. It's just about in every scene, too, and I can't sweet snack into his freaking craw. Sweet snack into his freaking craw. Sweet snack into his freaking craw. Oh no.
Hey, you want to hear about snacks worth stuffing in your craw? Traditional Japanese munchies made by families over generations? The good stuff you can't get outside the country? Well, check this out. Bokksu's monthly themed box brings over a dozen different traditional foods from all over Japan. With this month's box, Matsuri Nights, featuring all manner of fancy festival delectables just in time for Japan's biggest celebration season. With thousands of Matsuri taking place each year all across Japan, this month gives us a tiny taste of some of the most anticipated events in the country. With my candy choices being the Edo Matsuri Ningyo Yaki cake, a sweet that, as the name implies, takes the doll shape of one of several iconic symbols of a Matsuri, with a soft, sweet taste like perfect birthday cake. Then there's the Happy Turn Takoyaki sauce crackers, which, let me be clear here, I've had a lot of takoyaki flavored things in my day, but this is the closest to actually tasting like takoyaki. And lastly, an unusual item, handmade Hojicha candy created in collaboration with Bokksu and Daimonji Ame Honpo, a strange yet delectable combination of a sweet glaze and gently roasted green tea leaves, giving it a slightly nutty candied flavor to go along with its appearance. But it's not just your tongue getting culture shocked here, but your brain as well, as each box comes with a unique booklet explaining the history and culture behind each theme. This month's book not only features some key Japanese words to learn for the Matsuri season, but it also showcases the culture of some of the country's biggest summertime celebrations. So if you want to get your hands on some of Japan's most traditional and tasty Matsuri morsels for yourself, hit up that link in the description and use my code GAIJIN15 to get $15 off your purchase. Shipping's free and you can cancel at any time.
I mean, it's not like we're gonna be able to get it for ourselves anytime soon, so come take a literal bite out of Japan's culture with Bokksu.
Anywho, as far as 3 Ninjas go, knock it all you want, the movie did amazingly well, making back over 4 times its budget and getting 3 sequels, and even spawning their own franchise video games for the SNES and Genesis. But with that theoretically unneeded ancient history lesson out of the way, ever since we started Witch Ninja, people have been asking, how historically ninja is the movie? I mean, we did a deep dive in the 90s TMNT movie, and that turned out to be a heck of a lot more authentic than we gave it credit for. Heck, even Shredder by himself was really authentically ninja.
Yeah, and I know there have been a lot of requests for a Witch Ninja on Kevin from Home Alone, so I guess this was an inevitability?
So, yeah, I think it's time we add another 90s shinobi to the massive heap the pre-millennium ninja boom brought us to see if this incredibly silly movie did its homework when it came to what history remembers ninja to be. And believe it or not, the movie starts out pretty strong in this aspect. Brothers Samuel, Jeffrey, and Michael spend their summers with their ninja-trained grandfather, Mori Tanaka, training in his cabin in the woods. And simply that observation alone is incredibly indicative to actual ninja. Let me be brief. Those that practice Shinobi no Mono tend to come from isolated communities, like Iga for example. Iga is completely flanked by a mountain range with its only non-mountainous feature being Lake Biwa up north. Not exactly easy to get in and out of. So, due to such isolation and entrapment of nature, ninja would actively use their surroundings to train. Not only that, but everything that they manufacture, from poisons to medicines to portable food, weapons, tactics, and I kid you not, spiritual philosophy, everything that makes ninja what they are derives from nature.
That being said, the boys' training seems to revolve a lot around martial arts, and that's not quite what ninjutsu's about. Sure, most ninja had martial arts training as a complement, but ninja were specialists in 3 specific things: survival, travel, and intel gathering.
Fair, but that's not the only string of the bow of this montage. The boys also weight train for running, and more specifically, we see them water bucket train. Not only does this clearly fit under the aspect of travel that you mentioned earlier with ninja, this is also 100% legit, specifically with examples that I've seen with the Togakure Ryu ninja style. In some of my research materials, there's an old rare 1960 Shonen Jump snippet that showcased these very exercises, buckets and all. In fact, after watching this movie, the more I think about it, the more I'm starting to believe that what Grandpa Mori is teaching these kids is supposed to be Togakure Ryu style ninjutsu. But more on that in a bit.
Okay, so montage over, and now we've got a training ambush, and... oh god, they're wearing black. Why? You're in a green forest in the middle of the day. I know, it's a 90s movie, and the 90s ninja trope was shining through and through, but come on, man! It's the middle of the day in a forest! Why are you screaming? You just gave yourself away! Dude, are you sure this isn't just another over-the-top superhuman romanticization of ninja? Because things get more than a little impractical later on. When the bad guys finally show up a few scenes later, all their ninja lackeys are dressed up in equally stupid black shozokus, and... wait a minute. Are those patches? Let me guess, the costuming department got these from the local downtown karate dojo.
Tell me, have they studied the masters of our Eastern philosophy like our other men?
Ah yes, the time-honored Asian tradition of constant, inane, uncamouflaged uniforms with patches!
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this movie, which does show its age. Back then, ninjas were just synonymous with black shozoku to the point that it was impractical. And later on in this movie, we see these henshis in the same outfit no matter what job they're doing. Stupid? Yeah, I admit that. But try to look past that, because there's way better examples in this movie. Like, towards the end of this montage, we see that the boys are sitting down with Mori, and he gives them new names and masks. Now, remember when I said that I was theorizing that these kids were learning Togakure Ryu? This is another one of those hints. Another specialty of the Togakure Ryu was the usage of various masks to not only hide one's identity, but to utterly scare the crap out of your opponent in an ambush, denying them the ability to defend themselves and allowing the shinobi to quickly overtake their opponent. Now, that by itself in these handful of images I'm using to reference may not seem like good evidence, but there's one piece of actual history that might connect the Togakure Ryu to their masks, as well as these 3 boys. The Togakure Ryu theoretically got its start around Iga in 1162, around the tail end of the Heian period. Well, during the Heian period, we have a documented narrative of one Fujiwara no Chikata trying to overthrow the centralized government, and he did this by incorporating his Iga no Shiki, or 4 demons of Iga: Kaki, demon of fire, Ongyoki, demon of gold, Doki, demon of earth, and Tsuiki, demon of water. But fun fact, these were not actually demons, but rather proto-ninja using physical and alchemical feats on top of their disguises to appear as supernatural demons. And these masks that Grandpa Mori gives out to the boys, they don't look that different than the 4 masks found at the Iga Ninja Museum. So, yeah, the concept of these boys receiving masks as part of their ninja training? Yeah, I believe it. Then we come to the brief interlude between lunch when Grandpa Mori asks them one simple question.
What is a ninja?
Oh man, I gotta hear this.
A ninja is one who can use everything around him to trick his enemies. He is fast, and he is friendly to his environment.
Huh, that's exactly right. We've seen time and time again that ninja, due to their isolation and general poverty, had to use everything around them in order to survive and practice their art. Most everything they used, they found in nature. Huh.
A ninja is honest and good.
Okay, that's an incredibly obvious lie. Good? A little too subjective there, buddy. Ninja would do some pretty terrible things to accomplish their goals. And honest, that's kind of the antithesis of being a ninja, man.
His mind, body, and spirit are one. He has self-control. He has discipline.
Okay, generalized, but not wrong.
A ninja loves nature. 'Cause she is fond of nature. A ninja never fights a battle if he cannot win.
Ah, this kid gets it. The one thing about ninja in media that always cracks me up, this film included, is how so often they're portrayed as invincible, insane supermen. No, my friend, a ninja never engaged in direct combat if it could be helped. Every tool that they had at their disposal was not for killing, but for distraction and escape. Okay, what's more you got to say about all this?
A ninja. Mind, body, spirit, hearts are one. And never use power on anyone weaker than yourself.
Sir, that is very incorrect. The whole point behind infiltration and distraction techniques was specifically to prey on people's physical and psychological weaknesses. Ninja were so adept at understanding people's emotions that they nailed it down to a science. Manipulating reciprocity and the 7 core emotional states? These are also all the same intel agents that use blinding powders, poisons, and camouflage weapons to overpower opponents. Not exactly the most fair fighting folks. In fact, a few scenes later, we see Morty teaching these kids how to inflict crippling damage to an opponent's body by attacking them in their most sensitive areas. The armpits, throat, sternum, and groin. Yeah, you forgot about that one, 90s kids?
Alright, settle down. This is a kids movie, remember? Can't go around having a lot of morally gray areas. I assume the staff didn't want this franchise to get the moral panics on their back like what happened with the 90s TMNT movie.
Okay, yada yada yada. One 90s basketball montage later, we learned that the 3 boys are the sons of Douglas, an FBI agent trying to lock down this weapons dealer named Snyder, who is apparently a student and partner of Morty? Okay. So in order to get a little leverage, Snyder hires these 3 90s stereotypes to kidnap the boys. And this is where the Home Alone hijinks go off. In one particular instance, very quite literally.
Oh no! Robbers!
Yeah, I saw that reference movie.
Though, to be fair, I honestly think this is where the movie really goes off the rails when it comes to textbook ninja techniques. Like, right here, we got the boys pulling off a Tanuki Gakure no Jutsu, a hiding technique that capitalizes on the human average of only looking up at a 45-degree angle at any given time. It is literally textbook. Furthermore, remember this line?
Where are all the weapons? The slingshot, the knife throwers!
Dad hit him. He doesn't want us messing with him.
Oh great, so what are we gonna use against those guys with guns?
Again, I think this is pretty darn indicative of the Togakure Ryu's teachings. This was not a sect of shinobi that capitalized on a lot of traditional weaponry. Rather, there was a larger focus on unconventional items being weaponized. For example, based on what I researched, the Togakure Ryu had a focus on the Kyoketsu Shoge, a double-bladed spear tied to a rope, making it a capable weapon as well as a door wedge or a binding tool, Makibishi caltrops, used to slow down pursuers by creating patches of area denial, and flat diamond shuriken called Itomaki. Well, guess what? All these weapons are in this action sequence! Weapons aside, the movie also shows its work when it comes to ninja-oriented chemistry. We got little Michael, aka Tum Tum, over here in the kitchen with coffee grounds, pepper, chili powder, and Lord knows what else making something. Now my kid brain didn't think about it at the time, but when I caught this scene researching this topic, holy crap did alarms go off. He's literally making Mitsubishi bombs. These were roughly palm-sized payloads of red pepper, ash, dirt, powderized iron, mud, and all other kinds of irritants that would cause intense pain and sensory deprivation for anyone unfortunate enough to get clobbered in the face with it, allowing Ninja to escape with far greater ease. Now, historically speaking, I've only seen these made in one of 2 kinds of ways. The first way is to hollow out an egg, mix the contents within, then seal the egg at both ends with paper. The other, though, being the use of chestnut shells, interestingly enough. The shell would be split and hollowed out, and a weighted stone would be placed inside along the blinding concoction. Finally, the bomb would be sealed back together with a weak paper that would allow for an easy explosion. And here's the thing about those 2 forms of Mitsubishi. As I've stated numerous times before, Ninja had to work with what they had in nature. For the boys though, they could only use what they could find in the kitchen, and thankfully everything that they needed was in it. And in retrospect, the use of thin coffee filters was actually pretty smart as a shell. And the thing that I find the most interesting about this entire sequence is that you know that Mori taught these kids how to make these bombs. If it was just the boys chucking pepper in the eyes of these idiots, yeah, that would be one thing. But Mikey over here has an entire spread of powders for packing bombs. It's all legit old technical know-how passed down through the ages of ninja.
And I suppose shinobi from the early 700s to the late 1600s would trick their enemies into drinking diuric laxatives, huh?
Oh, of course not. This is just a child-friendly way of conveying poison use. Or at least the kid's capacity of understanding to use it. Can't exactly have the bumbling bad guys drink sodium fluoroacetate. But Yonin infiltrating shinobi? Yeah, drinking water sabotaging was a staple. So anyway, eventually, Boss Snyder sends in his actually competent goons to kidnap the boys, and then this line is blurted.
Rocky, these ninjas have guns. Hey, if they have guns, they're no ninjas.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Kid, I hate to break it to you, but shinobi were the front runners for black powder tech in Japan. They've arguably been using it long before firearms tech hit the country, thank you China, and even when guns did come to Japan, they were some of the first to reverse engineer it. Homemade Teppo rifles, Nigiri Teppo, Umebi mines, Yakuraiju firecrackers. Yeah, hate to break it to you in the third TMNT movie, kid, but samurai and ninja alike loved guns and put them into such regular use that when Hideyoshi invaded Korea, almost 1/3 of his entire troops were arquebusiers.
Getting back to the plot, Grandpa Mori says that he'll get the kids back, but he honestly might not have to. The boys keep showing their resourcefulness by using their environment around them to their advantage and even crafting makeshift weapons with tools. And, yeah, excluding the Togakareryu's tendencies to fashion legal tools as weapons, a lot of other shinobi did exactly this, making multi-purpose weapons out of tools and tools out of weapons. Something for any situation should the need arise. So chalk up another one for this movie understanding historical shinobi. So to wrap it all up, the kids learn the valuable ninja lesson of cracking people in the sensitive regions, Snyder is stopped, and everyone lives happily ever after. Well, until Hulk Hogan shows up in the sequel's tank.
All in all, I guess it's harmless enough. There's a lot of silliness in this movie with its cartoon sound effects and soundtrack of the 90s, and I feel like I'm watching an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? But get past all that and yeah, I guess there are a few snippets here and there of some historical ninja authenticity.
Dude, I think it's way more than just snippets. I mean, sure, a lot of it's toned down for the sake of the kids, but something I'm noticing between this and other 90s pop media ninja is that so much of it in general is coming directly from the Togakurei-ryu. Is it bombastic, overblown representation? Absolutely. But this is something that I'm going to be looking into more and more as we keep digging through these old 90s shinobi topics. But either way, thanks for watching everyone, and thank you to Bokksu for sponsoring this video. If you want to get your hands on some real, traditionally made bites from Japan, hit up my link in the description and use the code GAIJIN15 to get $15 off your purchase. We got our next big poll coming out over on Patreon, so we're gonna see who's gonna be our next big topic. There's still far more that I could talk about with 40k and world culture, but considering Samurai Rabbit The Usagi Chronicles is getting a second season, yeah, I didn't expect that either. Maybe it's time we have a witch samurai on the OG Usagi Yojimbo. Vote now, and until next time everyone, this is Gaijin Goomba, signing out.